This is a design from my book, Step by Step Free Motion Quilting. And it's basically relies on some wavy lines and putting some spirals in it. But then we'll change it up and see what else we can fit in there. So you start with a wavy line, and then every so often just pull yourself into a swirl. And then we've done this before. Good morning, Auntie M and Wendy. We've done this before where we travel back along what we already stitched. We did this with branching designs. Go back to where that line looks like it could have continued on down, and then continue it on down. You can do the same thing to the other side if you want. And then travel back to where it looks like that line could have just continued on. When you get to the end of your piece, then just come up with a wavy line. And now, the guideline for this design is when you pass a spiral, touch that spiral, just one little place right on the side of it. Just like that. I met up with my spiral, and then I kept going. And now I can put spirals to either side just like before, but if I'm putting a spiral in towards the last line, I'm just going to try and touch it. Boink. Get to the middle. You can spiral as much as you want. Maybe you want to spiral more than I am. And then travel back around to that point where the line could continue on naturally. And the spirals can go out the other way. And then continue on. So we'll do that one more time. Now I'm coming down. I'm just going to touch that spiral. And then continuing on. I'm going to lean in right here between these other two spirals. Nice spacing. Trying to kind of vary the size and where they are. But right here, it feels kind of empty to me down here. So I'm just going to put, instead of going, you know, this side, this side, this side, I can always put two on a side. So I'm just going to toss one in right here. And then continue on. And then we'll just get a little faster here so you can see that it kind of starts to flow. Sometimes you miss your line a little bit, that's okay. Wow, I really missed my line there, and it's still okay. It'll still be fine. Your drawing or your quilt will be finished, and that's the important thing. Okay, I think you've got the idea of this, but doesn't it like have this really nice, airy, graceful feel to it? I love that. And you could also, because this is not really dense stitching, you could finish a whole quilt like this, right? Your quilting's still going to be, even at this scale, you know, the farthest your quilting is going to get apart is like 4 inches. And that's fine for like as far as batting goes. Looks like a trellis. What a great, yeah, that's a really great vision for it. I am so bad at remembering what I called things in my books, and then the books keep moving all around the house as I get new ideas. I can't remember what I called it in the book, but whatever it was is probably not as good as trellis, because you're right, it totally has that feel. Okay, so let's just sub in something else here. In the book, I have that same kind of idea with big pebbles, and then I went around the pebbles with little pebbles on the inside to be fancy. And then once I had finished the pebbles, then I just traveled back around that big pebble and moved on. I'm not sure now that I know a bit more about free motion quilting that I would do this exactly like this. I think this motif itself is great, but I'm just not sure about all this density and so much openness around it. So I might try and use that motif in a different way now. But I would say that this could be fun. Putting a littleish pebble there. And then just as you go by, just catching the edge. You You can put your pebbles to either side as you go by, and just try and keep a little sense of wiggle in your line, so you get some of that fun texture happening. I really exaggerated the wiggle there just to see what would happen. Yeah, I really like that. And then you can get, like I just showed you with that bigger motif, anything you like putting inside a pebble, you can put here before you move on. Anything you like putting inside a pebble will work. Yeah, does this give you ideas? Does this make you have questions, or does this make you want to go quilt? Yeah, I like how that works out too. Do you ever quilt per block, says Patty. In other words, each quilt block has its own design. So the short answer is yes, but it's like still in a very modern way. So right, like my quilts tend to be really graphic. Usually I would say they're like in the modern category. So this is an example of this quilt design is called Nations, and it's on my website. And I designed this one to have these big empty blocks, but also some pieced blocks to piece around. And each one of the blocks in this quilt is a different design. And I've done that as well. There's another quilt that I have on my site called Magic Carpet. And that one, there's like 10-inch squares, and each 10-inch square is quilted with a design. But again, those are like solid fabric for the 10-inch squares. But I think it's a really great way to practice a lot of designs. And when you sit down, you're like, okay, what else should I do? It just gives you this confidence after you nail one design after another. Putting a different design in each block is a really effective way to get yourself familiar with and that sense of success about a lot of different designs. And in my book, First Steps to Free Motion Quilting, I do not know where my books went. My goodness. Oh, here they are. Great. Hooray. Not too far away. So in this book, First Steps to Free Motion Quilting, which is my go-to beginner book, that's what I wrote for absolute beginners. Like, I've never done this before. What do I do? I made this quilt. So this quilt is done as a quilt as you go style, which means you quilt each square individually. And then there's a clever little method for joining them using fabric strips, joining the quilted pieces using fabric strips. So you do all the quilting up front on little pieces, and then you put them together. And so those are like 3 different ways that you could approach like getting a different design in each block. But I think, Patty, what you were asking is like, if you have a bunch of star blocks or something, do you ever put a different design in those? And my answer is I don't, just because that's not usually the kind of quilt that I'm making. But I think that can still be really fun. And I would love, if you have a particular quilt in mind that you're thinking about, send me a email with a picture of the quilt. And once I figure out how to like show people what you sent me, then we'll just have a discussion about it. I bet there's a way. I just don't know what it is yet. So we'll figure it out. I'm learning a lot about internet technology and recording and sharing. If you have a question about a quilt you're up to quilt, somebody already sent me one yesterday. I received it, and we'll just figure that out. The name of the beginner quilt book again is First Steps to Free Motion Quilting. You can find it on my website, ChristinaCamelli.com, or, lots of places that sell books. And your quilt store, I'm sure, would be delighted to order it for you if you would like. Well, you're welcome, Patty. So did anybody get any ideas about what you could put in between these lines here? Feel free to suggest them. I'll just see if anybody said something while I was chit-chatting here. No suggestions yet. Oh, you sent an email this morning? Thank you, Julie. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about how I'm going to get my quilt classes online. And I feel like I've had just a revelation and some ideas about how it could work. And I'm still, while I'm building this, open to any suggestions you have, or if you're like, oh, I hope it's like this, or I really hope it's not like this, or I hope it costs this much, or whatever. Just let me know. I really want to know what it's like from the receiving end of the instruction. Southern Boy So says, pinwheels. I was thinking of a good meander, but not interfering with the pinwheels. Oh, and a quilt with pinwheels. Send me a picture, and what we're gonna try and do is draw on top of the picture. Yeah, that'll be really fun. I just got to figure out like how to show you what I'm drawing, and I think it's gonna involve a screen, and I just haven't figured that out yet. Okay, hearts. What a great idea. Let's try it. All right, so we're coming down here. The hearts, let me give you first, the simpler solution is going side to side. I'm going to the side, I go from the bottom of the heart, and I go over here. And I could even put upside down hearts. And then as I come back around, I'm just gonna touch, I'm not gonna try and touch both bumps of the heart, one is enough. Like this. Trying to intentionally put some curve in my line so it has kind of a fun, open flow. I had a harder time with that at the beginning, but then I started thinking about it and it started happening more naturally. So that's how it would go side to side, but I also think you could have these up down if you really like the idea of just that more like, it sort of feels like glitter or something falling. And so if you're going for that feeling, then the place to connect the heart is this outermost side of the heart. Okay, so you're going to be drawing a heart different than you have before. It might not come out the way you're used to at first, but if you keep doing it, you'll get really good at it, right? I'm not used to drawing hearts like this either, but we can figure it out. And when you come up, just try and clip the side of that heart. This could be super cute. I love it. Okay, so I'm starting to get the feel for this. And at least when I'm going up, what's fun about going up is I can just swirl right into the first bump of that heart. So look at that. I'm figuring something out as I draw it. Isn't it convenient that I'm doing that here while I'm drawing it instead of being like struggling with my first 10 hearts at the machine? Drawing is so super duper important. Okay, so I came here and then, okay, great. Okay, and now I'm doing something else. With that last one, for instance, I forgot to put my point over here and I just joined it up with the whole line. I might like that even better. I'm learning something new as I'm drawing too. I'm learning that there might be a different way to do it. So let's see. Let's see if I can do that again. I'm just coming back to meet my line before I continue on. Oh my gosh, that is easier. And it kind of has a fun flow to it. I might like that one better. I would definitely play around with that and see where it took you. And I think that this one, a lot of times I like if I go up one and then down one, I really like that. But because of the flow of how you draw the heart, I think I would just always build that one from the bottom. It's okay that my lines got really close together here. That gives a nice sense of flow. Oh, that was fun. That was so fun. Thank you for that good suggestion so we can try new things. Okay, let's see.